Heart greeting everyone. What is LightCode and how you can benefit yourself from interacting with the LightCode? This is Yogi George from Ascension Pathway, and our guest today, Desi, founder and channeler of Dea LightCode.
Heart greetings, everyone.
Hello, Desi. Thank you for
Hi.
coming with us.
Thank you for having me.
In this short introductory video, we're going to explain about what is LightCode and how it's connected with the mathematical structure of the fabric of the reality and the sacred geometry, and how you can benefit yourself from interacting with the light code and the many benefit and many possibility it can bring you. All right. So, Desi, how you can explain the light code in simple way?
Thank you for the question, George. This subject is very dear to me, and I'm very happy to be given the opportunity to share my knowledge and my understanding in regards to this subject. Light codes are simply the expression of light. They're the gates between the manifested world and the absolute. They're energy patterns, sacred geometry, sound waves, frequencies that the whole universe emits. The DNA itself is composed of vibrational frequencies of light that carry the codes of creation as well. So now that I mentioned sacred geometry, you have a very vast knowledge in regards to that subject. Would you like to share some of it with us, please?
Sure. Lovely introduction from you, Didi. It's a very simple way to explain the light code, just the language of light, the expression of light. Beautiful. Yes, and of course, the sacred geometry, a topic is very close to my heart. I'm very passionate to talk about it. Here in Ascension Pathway, we teach how to connect spirituality, science, and life. And sacred geometry is the first topic that comes to explain this understanding, this connection between them all. So, in simple way, also to explain about sacred geometry, because it is also a very vast topic, but yet can explain in a simple way, even if you are studying in university or if you are learning in any drawing class, drawing class, they will teach you first about the sacred geometry. There is a few basic element of sacred geometry that's most known and most famous, and in their structure, in their shape, they carry almost all the knowledge and all the vast complexity of the universe. Starting with the flower of life, I'll share a couple of pictures also with you to become familiar with it if you haven't seen it before, but most probably everyone saw those elements as very famous element. Flower of life one, and second one, Fibonacci sequence or Fibonacci code is also very famous. And then you have the 5 Platonic solids. Those are the most famous from sacred geometry, and once we explain a little bit about them, you'll understand that they carry all the complexity of the whole structure of the fabric of our reality. Let me share some of these pictures with you. So I will start first with Fibonacci sequence. As you can see here, for people, if you are not familiar with Fibonacci, it's a sequence of number and it's create this spiral shape, and all our nature, they are literally based on the same spiral shape, and it's repeated everywhere. And now we understand that there is a golden ratio or a very sacred structure, mathematical, that govern our reality and the shape that we see. And then let me share another picture also. This will be the picture of what we call the flower of life, and in the left bottom you can see the complex flower of life, and going all the way from the single circle all the way to the second 2 circle interacting together, which is a very known also sacred geometry called Vesica Pisces. Also it has a vast knowledge and mathematical understanding through these 2 small circle interacting, and then it's multiply and resemble our cells, multiplying as the embryo or the fetus being created from 1 cell to the second cells to 4 and 8 and all the way to the full flower of life. and you can see it in this shape. So this is you can understand that those sacred geometry, they are actually carrying the repetition or the fractal, they call it another word, fractal, of how much complex our reality is still based on those repeating mathematical number or sequence and scary information. And we'll go to the third picture also, where those 5 Platonic solids. These 5 Platonic solids is the only 5 equal shape of 3D, they call it polygons. Only 5 shapes, they have equal lengths, equal angles, equal sizes, equal faces. Those are the only 5 Platonic solid that when they combine together, they create the most complex shape. And when you combine them, they create it within the flower of life. So understanding that we have a very specific structure of what we call it sacred geometry, and it carry mathematical equation in all of them, including angles, lengths, faces, point. So when you realize that only these 5 Platonic solid can be carrying those equal symmetry, equal lengths, point, edges, as I mentioned, and those are the basis of all the sacred geometry that create no matter how much complexity you see in life, then you realize that there is something behind all life that carrying code, that code, a divine code or sacred geometry as I mentioned, or mathematical code that govern all our reality and all the information that we see in our reality. And you learn if you study this in university how everything is connected and everything is actually based on those mathematical codes. And here you can connect it with our DNA. Our DNA also carrying sacred geometry shape, the spiral within it. And our DNA, as our scientists understand, carrying information. The sequence in our DNA tells our cells how to produce or organize the cells into organs, into shape. No matter how much we are complex, skin colors, everything we are uniqueness, come from the information that's carried in our DNA. And this is the best part now. We know from our scientists that we have almost 75% of our DNA that they call it inactive DNA, so inactive code. And we are talking about a big, huge amount of information in this DNA, and they call it junk DNA. And that's not possible. You cannot have in the nature 75% of the vast information and codes within your body and it's junk. It's just inactive. That's a correct word. Means that they are awaiting to be activated and do something. And those are our potential, our codes, our abilities, because we are as a human, brilliant being, and you have ability that's waiting all the time to be activated and awaken within us. And here's come back to the light code as we are talking about. Those light code, as we have witnessed in our community, in our teaching, and of course with Dea LightCode and the people who have experience with those light code, the information and the sacred geometry that's being presented through those light code does something to our system, to our psychic, to our energy, to our consciousness, and awaken certain code and abilities that awaited to be awakened and awaited to be activated. And here come back to you, Didi. So how do you think this connected and how those light code are interacting with our energy?
Thank you for the question, George. Initially, when I started channeling light codes, I was also asking myself this question because I'm not able to read them. How are they interacting? What is this? And the way that I received when I tapped into infinite intelligence, the way I received and basically perceived the answer through my lens was that I'm going to relate this to an example from our 3D life. You know a programmer when he's creating an application or a website, on the background, when he's starting to create it, he types all these codes, right? He's just coding, 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 and coding. And then poof, the website is created. So then you just use it as a user, but you don't see those codes on the background, right? It's similar to that. Also, many people say, but I can't read this. How can I interact with it? This is exactly the beauty of them, because they bypass the 3D mind. The light codes, they don't interact with your mind. They interact on a soul level, consciousness level, and energy level.
Beautiful.
So when they bypass the 3D mind, it's like planting seeds. They work on the background. And inevitably, you start, once the seeds are planted, you start to notice openings and changes within your psyche. You start opening new abilities, etc. The benefits are endless. And we're going to mention that soon.
Beautiful. Yes, and I hope that we have shed a light and planted a seed about the light code, about this understanding, about this activation. And in this short video, we wanted just to explain about the introduction of the light code and how to interact with our DNA and our energy. And in the part 2, we're going deeper with how this works and sharing some mind-blowing testimony that many of the people who interact with the light code and work with Dea to receive an activation and working with this sacred geometry, and how they're sharing and expanding their third eye, or interaction, or feeling some specific energy pattern, or some expansion or some realization taking place. A lot of beautiful sharing that we will share with you in the part 2. I hope that this video ignite the light. Thank you for listening to us, and we see you in the part 2. Much love. See you soon.
Thank you.